Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to a new episode of 302 of a kind. Right now it's actually 301 of a kind because I'm alone. I sent Kevin my stuff, also basically everything I want to talk about. He said, "Thank you very much. See you later." And now it is later. And I just hope that he is coming soon. That's a little bit awkward, because I mean, like, obviously I also did the show, the Daily Dose of SEO, on Monday by myself, obviously in German. Oh, now he's entered the studio. There he is. Yes, thank you so much for not leaving me hanging, man.
Oh, no, of course not. On time here, 4 p.m. sharp.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. No, but it worked out quite well. But I was like, really, what do I want to do? But because I mean, like, I did the show by myself on Monday, right? And I was like, no, I'm just going to do it in English. But Coffee Meow's here. Hey, boys. Hey, Coffee Meow. Great you're being here. And we have Hans. Food morning, Hans. Hans actually just reached out to me because he had a very special guest for me for a Daily Dose of SEO, Katharina Stapel, who is a very experienced online marketer, especially in regards to conversion optimization and just optimizing the conversion funnel and the buyer journey. And she apparently did a very great presentation, and I locked her down. I already locked her down. Thanks again, Hans. And she's going to be a guest in our Daily Dose of SEO. And if she might be also able to do it in English, which would be nice. So maybe we also can welcome her as a guest as well.
Awesome.
Yes, Cat Morning, by the way. No, but I love Hans. Is like really, I mean, like I love this. Not just a frequent listener, but also always like suggesting good people that might be a phenomenal guest for us. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Hans. Like always, I'm thanking Hans like every week, right? Like every show. He's just so awesome. But let's start with SEO. And actually, you published a couple of interesting things again this week. First and foremost, this meta-analysis, basically, of 10 different studies. I mean, there were a lot of studies right now, basically trying to determine the impact of AI mode on SEO. And I think you did a pretty smart thing, not just having your own study, obviously, but just comparing the different studies. So let's see, really, I mean, like, do they all see the same things, or is there something fundamentally different? So, and what did you see when you started analyzing these 10 different studies?
Totally, yeah. So we saw a couple of commonalities across the studies. I think the most important one is really the question of outgoing clicks, right? And the reality is that AI mode barely sends any outgoing clicks. It's really only when people are trying to buy something or sign up for a product, right? But the only clicks that are going out are transactional. And interestingly, so our study was very qualitative. We had 37 people in there. And then there was a SEMrush study that had 69 million sessions that they looked at. So it's not the same study method, it's a different one. But you have both here. You have the micro and the macro, or qualitative, quantitative. And all of these studies come to the same result, which is that the zero-click share percentage for AI mode is almost 100%, right? So I think that's pretty, like, we can establish that. And it's interesting because I think it carries over pretty well to ChatGPT. We're getting some ChatGPT traffic, yes, but it's so minuscule that I think we can expect basically 100% zero-click share. The other thing was stickiness, and that's where we came to slightly different results. So there was an iPoll rank study that looked at similar web data, and they found that the majority of people don't come back to AI mode. And then we found that people really strongly engage with AI mode. So they've spent over an hour reading the text and really consuming the information in there. And I think the difference here is easy to reconcile. So basically, AI mode is still, the main entry point is still Google search, right? When you see an AI overview, at the very end of it, you see a button saying explore more in AI mode or dive deeper in AI mode. And that's how most people find it. And when they have their answer, they might go back to Google search, right? With something like ChatGPT, it makes sense that when they're done in ChatGPT, they open another conversation or they come back to ChatGPT. So I think the differences here in our findings are very much based on the entry points and how people get to AI mode.
Mhm.
And then there's something to be said about the accuracy in AI mode. And we generally found, that I mean, we didn't highlight, the kind of correctness of responses directly. That was not the main purview, but generally people trust AI mode answers, right? So we found in another AI mode study that we did for a travel agency called Propelic that people give a trust score of 4.3 out of 5 total points to AI mode answers, right? So barely any clicks, lots of engagement when people are in AI mode, and people generally trust the answers. Those are the biggest commonalities.
I mean, like, obviously, Google shareholders probably don't like reading stuff like this. Oh, nobody's clicking anymore. What? This is going to be the default? But on the other hand, I mean, like, we hear lots of engagement. People trust that, right? I mean, like, so Google basically has to do it, has to have this product, which is like very close to the ChatGPT product, the Perplexity product, to just fend off basically the competitors. Or how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, I think Perplexity in itself is a little less competitive, but I think, I mean, it's not that they're going nowhere, but I think they're going to struggle. I think ChatGPT, right? That's like the very interesting one. Are people going to use them just for mostly generative tasks or also for search? There was this paper that came out a couple of weeks ago called "How People Use ChatGPT," which I think is a very, very important paper for anybody to read.
Yeah, and by the way, Hans did that in German, actually way ahead of time, right? I mean, like, this is exactly what Hans was talking about for the longest time, and then they came about and it's like, hey, we did this, and Harvard did a peer review, and this is legit, and Hans was like, oh my God, it's Christmas, right? In summer.
And it really was Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you want to celebrate. But and in there you see that about 30% of the tasks, or about a third, are search related, where people try to find information or products. And so, I think those 30% are going to be really interesting, especially when it comes to shopping now. ChatGPT has the direct shopping integration. And this is not in my write-up here, but SEMrush did I think it's not even out yet, so maybe I can just like give this one insight away. But SEMrush has done an analysis of e-commerce and found that not that much e-commerce is happening on ChatGPT yet, and that might change with the direct integration. But I think that's where these findings are really interesting, because if Google positions itself as the search engine and they're able to nail down e-commerce while ChatGPT struggles, that might give them another leg up in this positioning as like a search LLM compared to like a generative LLM that does something else.
I mean, this is what we talked about last week, right? And I think we established that, I mean, like, this was this awesome interview, right, where Robbie Stein basically disclosed that there's 2 billion product updates like every hour. So this is just totally crazy. The product graph that Google has is just amazing. So many people using Merchant Center, basically supplying their feeds in real time. And this is something which ChatGPT just can't rebuild like this, or also introduce another product which is similar, because this is just the enormous amount of data Google has here, and not just online but also offline, basically, where we have the other big where they are ahead with local search, right? Ties even better together local search and product search, that you can buy a product local here in 500 meters, just whatever. This is so much more valuable than ChatGPT. How do you see ChatGPT also not getting ahead of Google again, but like how do you think ChatGPT can catch up here?
Man, it's a tough one. So I think basically they need to keep driving their momentum. And I know we're going to talk about the browser in a moment, so we're going to save that point for then. But they need to keep driving momentum and keep convince, especially younger users, that they're cooler and they're better, etc. And so down the line, if you think about the competitive advantages, I think, for example, the integrations that ChatGPT offers. I think they need to like really double down on integrations. Like, can they integrate with your Google Mail, with your Apple Mail, with Calendar, with all of the things, all the apps that you like to use to provide more utility and gain that context, right? Can they learn that Kevin likes to travel business class and stay at 5-star hotels and whatever?
Look at you, all boo.
Like, that's
You
what I
got the
like. I'm not saying
bourgeoisie of the SEO world here.
I'm not saying I do that. It's just what I like. Okay, but can they save that context then and make the user experience significantly better? Because right now Google is not that great at integrations, I'll have to say. So I think it's a bit of a race. I think they're not competitive in local, and so the question is, what alliance can they forge when it comes to local search? But then again, there are all these other things like there are other like pieces of their moat, like the browser, like Sora, which they now build like a social app. And so at the end of the day, ChatGPT has two war fronts. They don't just have Google that they kind of need to beat, but they also need to monetize better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they made a lot of investments. They spend a lot of money, and they need to figure out a path to recoup at least a large part of that money. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what role Sora plays in there and what other things that they can do. But it's going to be very interesting. I think right now Google has a leg up. Google is in the better position, right? They're in the pole position. But I would never underestimate a challenger with momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we got to say hi to Nikki. Hi from Annapolis, Maryland. That's great. Thanks for commenting. And Nikki, great you're here with us. And Coffee Meow is asking, do perplexity pages have any relevance for SEO? I haven't heard much about it in the last few months. Me neither. I mean, they were doing these basically. It's like programmatic SEO game, but I don't see that they have any relevance for SEO these days.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I had a call. I think I can talk about this.
Yeah, please do.
The NDA is not in motion anymore, but
it's not important.
It's just us, right?
Yeah, it's just us. It's just us. So
but I had a call with the CMO of Perplexity a while ago
wow.
about SEO, and their plan was always to rebuild Wikipedia, right? So in their minds, we're like, okay, we're just going to create pages about every topic and then piggyback off of Google. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it has really materialized. I know a couple of other companies in the space tried the same thing, but it never really materialized, right? And it goes back to like a very interesting paradox, which is that even though AI provides synthetic knowledge or synthetic intelligence, they still rely a lot on user-generated content, right? The most prominent sources in any LLM are YouTube, Wikipedia, Reddit, LinkedIn, Quora, right? These are all user-generated sources. And so they were not able to create their own kind of, Wikipedia to then hijack the search results. And I think there's like an interesting, maybe not problem, but like a paradox here. So anyway, that was the Perplexity thing. They might have pivoted strategies. I haven't been in touch with them for a while, but that was the plan back then.
Like the last thing on this, on your meta study here, I especially love this question here. Can brands still benefit from AI mode visibility even if clicks are scarce? What is your perception here? What did the studies tell you in regards to that question?
Fantastic one, because I think there absolutely is a path to influence. And right, like that's where like we count citations a lot for metrics to understand our visibility in LLMs, but I think what really matters are mentions. And so I haven't published this, but on Monday I'm publishing an analysis of Wikipedia and Reddit and YouTube, etc. And what you can see very clearly in the data is that Wikipedia gets only like they for every mention they need 3 citations. But for platforms like Reddit and YouTube, that's not the case at all. They get about 1 mention per citation, sometimes more mentions per citations. And so what that means is, if you really want to be visible, right, you have to look at the mentions. The mentions matter the most because that's what LLMs show in the main response. and people don't click the citations. We've known this for a while. People just don't click the citations. Maybe they glance over them. But it's all about the mentions. And when we see at how much engagement there is, and how much brand trust plays a role in the behavior of users, then yes, the answer is that people engage with this, they care about this, and that's why it matters to be visible. But it's all in the mentions, not the citations.
Yeah, here, and you're right. In fact, recognized brands were chosen even when other options were available. You know, it's just the power of the brand, right?
So powerful.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. And actually, just today, you posted something very interesting on LinkedIn. I didn't send you the link because I saw it a little bit later.
That's cool.
And I love this. I love this study here because you analyzed 30,000 AI citations across 500 software categories to test the hypothesis: do more G2 reviews correlate with more AI visibility? And I read it, and I'm like, yeah, would make sense. Yes, probably. And then it's yes, and it's statistically significant. Holy shit. Tell me a little bit more about that analysis.
Yeah, totally. So we took, as you said, like 500 random categories from G2. We took 30,000 citations in the software space. And then we looked at how much does it matter if a category or product on G2 has more citations, if it has more reviews or not. And then we found that there is an advantage to it. And just to be kind of correct, like scientifically honest here, it's a small correlation, right? So what that means is, but it's robust, right? Like we found like a really good 95% confidence interval. So this is real. The effect is there, but it's a small effect, right? And so what it means is that all the other things, right, they're really important, like the mentions across the web, your content, authority, all that kind of stuff that we typically talk about, that matters the most. But then reviews can help to tip the scales in the right direction. And interestingly, they help the most if you're placing higher on G2, right? So if you're number one in a category like SEO tools, that might have the largest impact on your share of voice and citations on ChatGPT. That's where we looked at ChatGPT. But again, like, there's lots of factors here. At the end of the day, LLMs are looking at consensus, and review software sites are a great source of consensus because they offer a lot of different reviews and viewpoints. And so I need to do a lot more research here to truly understand like the sentiment and like what moves the needle and how positioning plays a role, etc. But that was a very interesting signal here to find.
I think it makes so much sense, right? Because I would imagine people are not searching. I mean, we have a similar example in here. They're not searching for best CRM tool anymore, which I mean, this is like a typical search I would have done on Google, right? What's the best CRM tool? What's the best SEO tool? But now they're describing a little bit more about their situation, like with every question then I ask these LLM search engine, and it's always about very specific about my life situation. And I think this also plays a role here, that people are really saying, okay, the best CRM tool for an agency with 50 people, the best CRM tool in South Africa for blah blah blah, right? As you introduce a lot more variables all of a sudden, which was just not possible before. I mean, like searches like this probably wouldn't have yielded like a very good result in Google before, but now it is really possible to ask these kind of questions, and it entices people to really describe their own situation a little bit more, to get maybe a little bit more better and specific recommendations of a particular software. So, and I think that makes totally sense, because all of these like words, basically you're introducing all these and additional context vectors you're introducing are probably within these reviews, where people are writing, oh, we have a 50 people agency, and like we're a small medium business and we're using this, right? So I think this is really the power of G2. So not the platform itself, but really these reviews having all these context vectors that I mean, like ChatGPT just loves to ingest, and like really is able to give much better specific recommendations. So very great analysis. Great analysis.
Thanks, man. But yeah, it's interesting, situation. G2 also does a survey every quarter of 1,000 software buyers. And they found now in August for the first time that more than 50% start their search on ChatGPT rather than Google when it comes to software. And it makes sense because exactly of what you said, you can provide so much more context and you get a much more specific answer. And on Google, you get a carousel of some products that you don't know where it comes from, right? So very, very interesting. And of course, it also translates to e-commerce. It means that if you're in e-commerce, you want to groom the reviews on your site or the reviews if you're a brand on Trustpilot and some of these other review sites, right? So it's not, maybe on TripAdvisor, it matters for travel. So it's not just G2 and software. I think reviews in general have a very additive effect when it comes to Gen AI.
Very interesting. And by the way, I really want to highlight how spot on you are with your analyses and your studies, because there was actually a SEMrush study, do backlinks still matter, an AI search, insight from 1,000 domains. And what they basically find out is what you found out in your study, right? As just a couple of weeks back, you introduced that study where you were also looking at backlinks and how it is. And I thought it was super interesting because you had these findings with that it's basically follow links, no follow links doesn't really matter. Obviously, because you have Wikipedia being a no follow link, but nevertheless a great link, right? I mean, it's Wikipedia. So that finding obviously makes a lot of sense. But what you also found, which I found stunning, was that image links, even in some instances, might even work better. Where we thought about, okay, this could be because a lot of like the big companies are sponsoring all over the board, and obviously these image links could also have a great value. And the crazy thing is that basically everything that you found out is also are also findings in this study. And so yeah, we were totally spot on. And I think this is really how it is today. But good news, it's basically how you should have worked the last 20 years. So it's all good. Right? But nevertheless, I really loved reading that study because it was so spot on. And I just remember that I was a little bit dumbfounded when you released your findings. And now we got it. So thank you, Margarita, for publishing this study here on SEMrush. And then the next topic we want to talk a little bit more extensively is obviously OpenAI launching their web browser, ChatGPT Atlas. I mean, we had LLM search kind of browsers, there were different browsers, but this is now really from the big guns, so to speak, from OpenAI. I actually wanted to install it, but then I saw like all the phishing that was going on and stuff like this. I'm just going to wait for a little bit more. But a lot of people have been playing with it, and actually Hans, was also watching. He actually also shared some incredible stuff he's doing on LinkedIn because he was using a tool, and he says, now I'm not going to use the API credits anymore because, well, it's a table and I can just tab it, extract the table. And it was, I thought, this is so smart. Again, I mean, like obviously it's Hans, but it was so smart. And I think there's so many great use cases here, but nevertheless, I'm a little bit reluctant to really use the browser yet, because I mean, this is a huge attack vector, obviously, and if you give it too much power, so to speak, it might be able to be abused. What's your opinion about the new ChatGPT Atlas?
Yeah, I'd love to try it out. I don't have a Mac right now, so I'm a little antsy to try it out. I know it's a shame. But I would love to. I also have not yet tried out Comet from Perplexity. I have it downloaded, but I haven't installed it. So I cannot speak from own experience. But what's interesting and what really surprised me so much is how much Atlas leans on Google search results. I think they even spoof the Google. I mean, maybe spoofing is.
I mean, by the way, it's Chromium, right? I mean, like this is the craziest thing ever. I mean, like this is basically a Google browser, right? It's just the skin in some way or form. But as you just said, also when you do a search, well, it's basically Google results. So okay.
So, like, at least use Bing, man. Like, what happened here? You know what I mean? You have this partnership, and so
but you know what, in the big lawsuit when Apple was saying, hey, Bing wasn't even an option because of quality. So the 25 billion they got from Google, we happily take it, and we want Google because Bing is not really an alternative. So I think that might just be the same thing, because people are using the browser, are searching, don't get good results, and they're like, okay, let me use Chrome again in Google, right? So I think they had to, in some way or form, make this move. But I mean, Google was like,
well, exactly. I mean, like, how long are they going to allow this, right? They can basically cut off in theory, it's probably a bit tricky, but they can probably, in theory, cut off ChatGPT from Google search, right? And so why would they even allow this in the first place? I don't know. Maybe the new anti-scraping engineer that they're hiring will bring. Maybe we'll stop that too. I don't know. But it's interesting, and yet at the same time, you have this, fascinating interface. So essentially, the way that I think about Atlas, it's like Chrome with the browser extension that is ChatGPT, and maybe that's good enough, right? Maybe that provides enough utility. I saw some very early tests where people tried to, for example, buy products on Instacart with Atlas. That is a use case that was introduced in the Atlas teaser video from OpenAI. And they said that it doesn't work that well. So, it's a test for agentic capabilities. And at the same time, though, right, if Atlas catches traction and if OpenAI is able to convince more people to use Atlas, which I don't think is unrealistic because so many people already use ChatGPT. So here's what I would do if I was ChatGPT or OpenAI, okay? First of all, once people can use it on Windows as well, right? It is a beta version right now on Mac, but once it's broadly available, I would ping it more often in the ChatGPT web interface and the app to say you have to install this browser, and I would launch new features in the browser first, right? So that people have an incentive to use it, and then like once you have more people in the browser, you gain all the data from their search behavior, and that then allows you to build your own search engine, right? So I think that's the chess play that ChatGPT or OpenAI has to do. They need to launch new features, maybe exclusively or first in Atlas to get more people into the browser, and use that then to build a better search engine and detach from Google.
Great point. That's really a great point. I mean, like that would be so nice. You launch a new feature, people want to use it. Oh, you have to use the browser. Great stuff.
Leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And regarding the browser, I think one of the biggest challenges for us right now is probably like really seeing when like a ChatGPT Atlas browser is like hitting your site. I think it's very hard to differentiate right now between Google Chrome, actually also a real user, right? And this, right? Also, it would be so interesting to be able to like really pin down, oh, this is definitely ChatGPT Atlas. But right now, I don't have seen any viable solution. I know, I mean, we are in the same WhatsApp group, very illustrious WhatsApp group, and I know there have been interesting ideas on how to track this, but so far I think nothing has emerged as being like really 100% bulletproof identification method of Atlas.
Which I don't like. At the end of the day, I think they're not doing themselves a favor with it, because you want to track Atlas to understand if people struggle or get stuck somewhere. And so because we know how unprepared a lot of sites are for agents, right?
I mean, Jess Schultz, great presentation by her, right? I mean, actually showed us even with big sites, they all struggle, and nobody's actually also doing this, right? So I mean, like I said it, I get caught myself because I'm not doing it, and this is it. People need to do this.
No, but yeah, exactly right. And I also am not doing it because I was like, this is going to take a long time until people adopt agents. However, Atlas can change that very quickly, right? If it turns out that a lot of people actually download this thing and use it, and they try to perform agentic actions on your site, whoops, all of a sudden, you might have a problem. And it would be great to understand, to be able to track Atlas so we can fix these problems, right? Not just, it's not about cloaking or so, but it's about understanding the significance of Atlas users on your website.
But even cloaking would be absolutely fine, by the way, because right now, I mean, like, this is still bananas, right? So we basically have an agent, and he's using web pages like we do, like with all the flaws of all the web pages. I mean, I don't want to channel my inner Jono here, right? But this is, I mean, like, really, I mean, like all the shitty websites, and now this agent is basically like trying to navigate through this website, and probably oftentimes failing as well, just as we do when we're surfing like random websites. And I think it would be great to be able to, first of all, pinpoint this is an Atlas browser right now, and then cloak it and basically just, I don't know, just give you data access, right? This is the data. You don't even need, like the whole shebang. It doesn't need to look like this. I just give you what you want, right? I mean, like, obviously this is very far-fetched, but I think this has to be the future, right? Because I mean, it can't be the future, building better and better agents that basically can like navigate all the just horrible websites, right?
Yeah.
I think we have to come to a serving layer, a data serving layer. So either a user, and here it is, you wanted the website, or you're not a user. So I might give you the data you're looking for in a different format, which is more performant and stuff like this. And by the way, which also saves a lot of CO2, a lot of power, because I mean, like all the rendering of all that shit, right? It doesn't need that. You're right. We don't need all that rendering, right? And so I think there's it's just way too much, and there needs to be like a future where there's a middle layer for browsers like this, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it absolutely does. What's interesting is when we connect what we spoke about first and the browser. So we said that AI mode doesn't really have clicks unless people transact. But I think, at least in e-commerce, right, Google will offer a direct checkout for shopping, right? So that means no more clicks. And then there's just going to be this transition period where, of course, the young people will be first to AI mode, etc., and then older people might take a longer time, right? So might
you're
use
right on it. I'm going to take a longer time. I get it. Okay. Thank you very much for your ageism here.
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Not just kidding. I think we're closer than most people think in age. But no, in all seriousness, the thing is, for those people who use AI mode and they can check out there directly, right? There's no reason to go to a website anymore. And so that then puts in front of the question of like, why have a website in the first place? Or better said, what's the purpose of your website? And if it's not to convert users, then you don't even need to cloak anymore. You actually just need to, there just needs to be a feed for bots, right? It's interesting. One of my clients actually will now test cloaking. It's a bigger company. I cannot give the name away, but they will now create more quote unquote keyword stuffed versions of their landing pages and then show that only to ChatGPT. I'm very excited to see the results.
Shady. I love it.
Shady, but allowed.
Shady stuff to their company. No,
it's in the rules because there's no rule that says you're not allowed to do this, right?
So dude, dynamic rendering, right? I mean, this is cloaking. Oh, we're just dynamic rendering.
Yeah, of course, Google will show the normal version of the page, right? So,
of course,
all the Google people who are listening, you can go through my clients' profiles and see they're all fine. There's nothing to worry about.
Well, nothing to see here. Nothing to see. These are not this is not the cloaking you're looking for. Okay. Right on. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Oh, this is great from Andrea. A great study here from Andrea. How structured data shapes AI snippets and extends your visibility quota. Yes, I know. We had that discussion for the longest time. Does structured data help? Do you need to do structured data and stuff like this? And we don't want to get into this discussion. I mean, like, you should structure all the things, even if you don't have like a direct effect. This is definitely going to help search engines better understanding your content. So you should definitely do it. But what Andrea found out, and this is really stunning, is that he found something called word lim, and this is just so crazy. So what has happened? This is so crazy. Yeah. While running these tests, I noticed another subtle pattern, and one that might explain why structured data leads to more consistent and complete snippets. Inside ChatGPT 5's retrieval pipeline, there's an internal directive informally known as wordlim, a dynamic quota determining how much text from a single web page can make into a generated answer. Holy shit. And at first glance, it acts like a word limit, but it's adaptive. The richer and better typed a page's content, the more room it earns in the model's synthesis window. And this is crazy. So if you have unstructured content, like standard blog posts, as we all know, like 20 years ago, you get about 200 words. If it's structured content, product market feeds, it's getting it extended to 500 words. And if it's really dense, authoritative sources, they really are all over this, it can reach up to 1,000+ words. And this isn't arbitrary. The limit helps AI system encourage synthesis across sources rather than copy pasting, avoid copyright issues, and keep answers concise and readable. This is super, super smart. And I was just blown away that Andrea found this out, because now we really finally have proof that structured data. I mean, like, again, like in specific situation, obviously it might not help, but I think in the long run, it will always help structuring your content. As a really spectacular study here from Andrea. You got anything to add?
Man, what should I say? He's a super smart cookie. And again, I like that we're getting more substance to the discussion because it was so philosophical. And now we're seeing actually more evidence how this could help. And so I hope that somebody does an actual data analysis at scale based on this concept to see, like, what are the cutoff points? Is it, how can you make your content so authoritative that ChatGPT might show 1,000 words of your content, not for publishers maybe, but for SaaS companies, e-commerce, etc. Maybe affiliate. You have you have a big interest to show as much content from your side in LLM. So I'd love to feed that with more data.
Awesome. I get a lot of like smaller things, but they're all super interesting. So I definitely want to run this by you. So we have this great article here on SEO Interactive, trading traditional SEO personas for smarter AI regional marketing with help from custom AI analysts. And this is actually what they're doing. So they build like an analyst and they gave them a little bit more background basically. And they're trying to be this for an EV car maker, so electric vehicles. And obviously there's going to be, I mean, like USA is huge, right? It is so huge. And obviously, like in different regions of the US, you will have specific also things what people find more what's more important for them than maybe in other regions. They have these examples here. A buyer in New Jersey might get thousands in state rebates. A buyer in North Dakota gets none. That's actually, yeah, makes sense, right? A driver in California sees public charges at every turn. A driver in Wyoming faces vast charging deserts, right? So there's obviously, like in Wyoming, you will have somebody like really evaluating if he's buying an electric vehicle, will have a whole different other set of questions in the preliminary decision stage of the funnel, so to speak. And this is what they try to find out with these basically custom agents, to give them these context vectors they need for specific regions. And this is basically their approach. And I thought this was just super smart, doing this way. And I mean, like, obviously, if you supply like such a big, vast terrain, I mean, you will have to do something like this. But even in Germany, this might be also interesting, because you have cultural differences in East, Western Germany, Berlin to Munich, and stuff like this. So that makes a lot of sense. I really like the approach. And this is why I wanted to show you this article.
Yeah, smart. I think that's what a lot more companies should do. I think the persona play is really, really important, because LLMs are so personalized. So I think that's great marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it extends the persona. Before it was always, okay, this is the head of SEO at agency X, but now you can have so much more context factors, where this is, how much experience someone has, right? And this might all, create totally different like questions this person might have in evaluating a new SEO tool for their agency, right? And so very smart approach here from SEO Interactive. Thanks so much for the article. Then we have Dan. I mean, like, he's launching great products left and right. He's actually just in Amsterdam, I think, for Spotlight. So you definitely want to catch him.
You bet.
He built this awesome tool, Query Fanout AI. So this is not just Google, but also a model they built themselves. By the way, the joke here, is this your model? No. Don't you have one? Yes, we have one, but this isn't it. So Gemini? No. So what then? Google? Just Google? Yes, that's all I know. Probably custom model. Are you taking any more questions? No. So funny. But so don't question the data, but it works. And so it should be the longer, the more fan-out queries you actually get. So it's a great tool. Should definitely try it out. Have you played around with it?
Not yet. No. I like Dan's joke though, because I always try and understand, like, how can I, like, what's going on in his genius mind. But I've tried some other tools from Dan, and I always found them super useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another technique, Metehan, great dude. So awesome. I think he's at Brighton SEO right now. He actually also had a great idea how to run visual query fan-out analysis in Screaming Frog using OpenAI. So what he's doing, he's basically doubling down on this visual search fan-out what Google just announced that they launched. Basically, it's basically like a more comprehensive analysis of an image, recognizing subtle details, secondary objects in addition to the primary subject, and then it basically runs all these multiple queries in the background. And this is what he's basically recreating. And this is super, super interesting. It's such a great technique, because as he found so much stuff where it's like, where in the image you would write this is blue, but the LLM is searching for something navy blue or something like this, right? And so these subtle differences is so important to give you a better indication on, like the alt text of your images, how you want to name your images, how you want to, in what context you show the image, what surrounding content, and that kind of stuff. And this is basically what this gives you. And fantastic stuff. And like, really having the whole process here. You can run it in a Screaming Frog. Great stuff from Mitahan again.
Yeah, it's super smart, because you see, for example, more AI always showing YouTube results. There's also coming in my analysis on Monday. And so I expect that AI mode will do something very similar. And maybe there, how Notebook LM can already create a presentation based on the material you upload. And so I wouldn't rule out that at some time in the future, Google will maybe, show a lot more videos in AI answers. The best thing that we have today is YouTube results and AI overviews. But like which YouTube videos it picks, we have no idea about. And that might be the key to actually figure this out, is visual fan out. And it might allow you to like really understand what video content you have to create to be visible. Have you seen the Wistia thing?
No.
Okay, so Wistia, I think they just announced it today. They have a new embed feature. So if you upload a video on Wistia, you can now embed it on your site, and it has a feature where it shows the full transcript of the video to LLMs when they crawl. So this way, LLMs can much better understand the video that you have and your content, and just adds like a lot of great context. So I think it's like a very cool, smart feature.
Yeah, I mean, this makes so much sense, right? I mean, like this is the next frontier, obviously. All right. But by the way, talking of Dan, he also released this Flux data on AI, with basically like a volatility sensor of AI search engines. So he's basically like tracking, basically ranking fluctuations over time. So basically what changes basically in the corpus, in the way how these LLMs basically generate answers and stuff like this. So I found this super interesting, and a great, basically like the SEMrush sensor, basically great idea that then built this. So you should definitely bookmark this. Oh, and I love this article. I mean, like I get so many questions, like about AI overview, AIO tool in SEMrush, which I use extensively. I actually now have a second customer I'm working with, specifically working with the AI tool from SEMrush, and it works like amazingly well, right? I love it. But it's always like very hard to show, because I mean, obviously I'm working for these customers and I can't show customer data. And so I loved what Sergey did here, because he basically showed his process of how he is using the AIO tool with and for SEMrush. And so people can really see basically what's in there, basically, but also what he basically derived from it, and what he did, also how he really, it's not just looking at data, it's not just looking at KPIs, but really doing actionable stuff, right? And this, what he showed basically is optimization framework, and the crazy thing, it works, and this is actually one of his things, that it's wait. Yeah, the speed shocked us. With AI platforms, we saw results within days, sometimes hours. This was dramatically faster than the typical SEO timeline, where ranking improvements can take weeks or longer. And I think Hans can say the same thing, because he was actually also at a conference and he was making like a special site to get cited in questions about this conference. And he did this in just a couple of days, right? This is like totally different from what we saw with Google before. It's just a lot more faster. and you can do something, and you can be included in these answers like the next day. And this is phenomenal. And yeah, and he basically shows how he's using these specific tools to really derive like the correct like what you need to do. And so I love this article because it gives a little bit more insights about how it works, and you can also compare it with your workflow, maybe with another tool. I think I would point people to it, and yeah, I mean, encourage everyone to just try it out. I mean, like, you have to monitor this. You have to track your your brand, and you have to. That's it. You have to have that, and I think this is a great entry point here. So great article. Thank you, Sergey. And then we were talking about Wikipedia before, and I think this is a quite interesting article here, because new user trends on Wikipedia, and the trend is basically that, yeah, it's going down. Also, there's less and less users on Wikipedia. There's actually also some bot detection they improved, because there was lots of traffic from Brazil, which turned out to be bot traffic. I mean, like, obviously it's Wikipedia, so a lot of people want to read that content. But what we can definitely see it, that the traffic is going down.
Yes.
You can also see this. There's this awesome site where you can track the traffic to to different Wikipedia articles itself, and you can also see the same thing, the same trend here. Yeah, also, I mean, makes a lot of sense, but nevertheless, I mean, like, obviously that's not good for Wikipedia, because also we definitely want them to continue to do an awesome job. But obviously this is something to think about. How do you see this?
Yeah, it's interesting, because that's actually exactly what I'm writing about on Monday. It's exactly that article, and I've done some digging and research. And so one thing that's fascinating is, you can see the traffic for Wikipedia, right? There's the organization Wikimedia has a dashboard where you can see the page views to Wikipedia. And there's a couple of things to it. One is the traffic has been declining since 2020 already. Human traffic, that is. So they've been dealing with some problems for a while, but it really took a nosedive in March of this year, which is when Google dialed up the AI overviews. The second thing that's fascinating is on Wikimedia, you can see how many humans visit Wikipedia compared to bots, and it's now almost 50-50. So the number of bots that are scraping Wikipedia in just the last couple of months has increased significantly, right? So as like we're realizing that more bots than humans visit the web or browse the web, and there was this interesting statistic about more half of the web's content being AI generated. I think that's just so symbolic that half of visitors to Wikipedia are now bots. And for Wikipedia, as you said, I think there's a thread, maybe a short-term threat to the business model, because their business model is they need to convince donors that donors should give them money because they create value in the world. Now they need to shift the narrative from traffic to visibility. It's going to be very exciting to see how they do that.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, they need the donations, because you just can't run this on air and love, as we say. Yeah.
Maybe they'll get them from ChatGPT.
What's also dipping is, I love that social media usage. Oh my God. And throughout all age groups, as social media usage is going down. I love it. I mean, you all know I'm not big social media users, although you just see me on social media, but I'm not very social on social media. I might be very social in this video, but other than that, I'm not very social on social media, and I don't like it all too much, so I don't spend time like as not extensively like scrolling through feeds or stuff like this. So I love seeing this trend, but how do you explain this trend?
Man, a couple of things. One is, this is especially driven by younger generations, and I think younger generations are just starting to get the hang of it, right? They're just understanding that this is not good for them, and they'd rather try to form connections in other ways. And so this is very, very encouraging to me. I hope it continues. There's, of course, also something to be said about the fact that more countries like Australia, or states like Florida, of all states, are starting to ban social media under a certain age, right? And so my hope is that a lot more people understand, especially young people, how bad social media is. I just uninstalled Instagram for myself, and I blocked all social apps during certain times and I feel noticeably better because what I realized is the smartest people in the world work on hijacking your brain, and you have no chance against it. So
yeah, absolutely. But this is so funny that you have to do this yourself. Basically, you have to restrict yourself of using these, of using these tools. Also, if you look at my thing, it's like really Duolingo at the top, 1 hour Duolingo a day. Yeah.
I saw Safari in there. Who are you? The one Safari user?
No, but it's Safari because this is chess. Also the Safari, chessly.com, this is Chessable. I do Chessable, not do the Chessable app, but with over Safari, and this is why it's so big because 1 hour a day chess and 1 hour a day learning Chinese.
That's why you always
what I use my phone for. I mean, like this is so crazy. And Facebook is like in 1 week I used it for 1 hour, and this is like also in the whole week. And there's the next thing, Instagram in 1 week, 18 minutes. Yeah, like once a week I have to like heart some things. That's it. And yeah,
I know why you
chessable, like as it's Chinese and chess, and then
that's why you keep kicking my ass in chess whenever we play.
Oh yeah, and today is my first game for FC Bayern Munich. Also today my first game, board 4 against SC Ismaning, and I'm super stressed out. Also I'm with black. I'm well prepared, but nevertheless I'm like really first game in the FC Bayern Munich jersey. Also I'm stoked.
Send a pic, please. Send a pic.
No, I won't. No, it's good. They want to do pictures for the website anyway today. Also in Germany. Awesome. Yeah. Enough about me. Yeah, Glenn Gabe also. It was Barry. Yeah, we remember, when they were saying, oh, but there are more core updates, more often, more structured data, blah blah blah. And when you look at the timeline, right, this year we still only had 2. And I mean, like it's been 4 the last 2 years. So like everybody is expecting this. But the interesting thing is why, because people are saying like, why is it taking so long? And this interesting tidbit, what Paul Haar actually told to Glenn Gabe. Paul Haar explained to me at the Google Webmaster Conference in Mountain View that they did so much analysis between core updates that it acts like a bottleneck for releasing more. And that is super interesting. Also, they're doing so much testing in between that they're like, really, this is the bottleneck. We haven't tested enough, and we can't roll out the new one. But he also thinks there was going to be at least one in fall, in November, something like this. Also, I definitely expect one more now in before the end of the year. But nevertheless, I thought this was a very interesting tidbit here from Glenn Gabe. Thanks for sharing this. Then, this is funny. Reddit sues Perplexity and obviously also SERP API over scraping Google search data. And what they did, they basically built a honeypot. So a thread that was only, the complaint claims Reddit even set a trap for Perplexity, creating a test post only visible to Google's crawler. And within hours, that post appeared in Perplexity search results, evidence that the company relied on scraped Google data. Bam! I mean, like, obviously, Reddit has to fight against stuff like this. But I love it, how they were really, like, setting a trap for Perplexity, and then they fell right into. I mean, like, Perplexity has been very edgy anyway, right? I'm also neglecting robots.txt and stuff like this, right? So they take everything they can, and now they get caught with the hand in cookie jar. So we're definitely going to follow this lawsuit, definitely, because this is going to be really interesting, I think, for the whole industry. Then, Google announces a new era for voice search. This was super interesting. Because as I understood, basically before, the old system was called Cascade ASR. And this is basically, you have a voice query and it would convert it into text. And then it would put it through the normal ranking process. And now is this new, it's called speech to retrieval. And it's a neural network based machine learning model trained on large data sets of paired audio queries in documents. So you don't have to translate that anymore. You don't have to put it into text, right? you can directly from the voice query itself, try to find the suitable documents. Super interesting. It goes a little bit more into detail how this works, how this ranking layer works. But I think this is a great improvement, and definitely also something Google has to do, because this extra step obviously takes time, performance, and everything. So you need to get rid of it. And something else which Google did, it's also super interesting, because Google's new block rank democratizes advanced semantic search. I know this sounds super, super crazy. It's a new research paper from Google DeepMind, and they proposed this new AI search ranking algorithm called block rank. So let's imagine you have like a huge pile of documents and you want to find the best ones to answer a question. And right now, as usually now, an AI needs to read every document and basically compare them all against each other, which obviously takes a lot of time and compute. And what these Google researchers now found out is basically a very smart shortcut. So instead of comparing every document with every other, the AI looks at each document on its own and then decides how well it matches the questions. That's super interesting. Plus, it also pays special attention to the most important words in the question to figure out which documents really matter. This is a super smart approach, and this is this new method which is called block rank. Again, this is only a study, but obviously that makes a lot of sense, because it speeds up the search process by a lot, and without missing out or finding the best answers, because it's exactly what it does, maybe even better, more performant, faster. So it could obviously make advanced AI tools more affordable. So makes a lot of sense, this block rank. Again, took me some time to understand it, what it really is, but now that I understood it, and I hope I was able to explain it correctly, is really super interesting. And last but not least, we have a couple more minutes. iPro rank, always great content, obviously. And if my king, the king itself, the king himself, punches in the keyboard, we definitely take note. A quick tip: how OpenAI's product feed redefines commerce data. And he really took a very close look at basically OpenAI's initiative on basically surfacing products. And he found very interesting differences, and also gives good advice, basically on what you need, on what you should be doing this year, transforming a Google feed into an OpenAI feed. So if you really want to now play with OpenAI with your products, this is what you need to do. And I love this, that he basically put this step-by-step approach. Also, adding like these OpenAI specific attributes, like enable search, enable checkout, and stuff like this. So very good post of people, when people think, already got a Google feed, I'm already active in Google Market Center, I now also want to dabble in OpenAI. How do I do it? This is the article you should read, because it basically tells you everything you need to know. And that's basically all I have. Do you have?
My God, I don't know what to do, what to say. It's not 5 after the hour. Oh my God. So next week, I want to talk about, I'll send you this. There's a new research paper out of Hamburg, Germany. Hooray. That's funny enough. So the main author is called Kaiser. The second author, I don't know his name, but he's from the Frankfurt School of Business. So the paper comes from Hamburg, from the Frankfurt School of Business. Anyway, it's about LLMs.
Wait, that sounds always like food, right? Hamburger, Frankfurter. Also, this is cities in Germany. This is not food related talk.
I'm hungry. So they looked at LLMs and their contribution to e-commerce. And just to take it away, they found that LLMs don't yet meaningfully contribute to e-commerce, but there's a lot of interesting detail in the study. So I'll send it over to you. Maybe we can cover it in next week, because it directly builds on Mike King's post on the different feeds and the different direct shopping integrations. So I think that's going to be interesting. And I'm very excited to see, when does the first case study come out about a merchant that makes more money from ChatGPT than organic search. I mean, less. Everybody makes less right now, I think. But who makes more?
That's great. And we're at the top of the hour. We had almost immediately fuck. Yeah, thanks so much. Also definitely send it over, and I will definitely put it in so that we talk about it next week. So yeah, please be there next week, next Friday. Would be awesome to have you there. And if you speak German, it would be awesome to have you there on Monday in the tägliche Dosis SEO, the daily dose of SEO. So if you can make it, would be nice, but definitely be here next Friday again at 4 p.m. When we cordially temporarily redirect you from work to the weekend. And you deserved it. So, have a great weekend, everybody. And I see you next week. Have fun traveling, my dear friend. And see you next week. And you see everybody of you next week. Thanks so much for coming and commenting and interacting with us. Thank you so much.
Take care. Best luck in your chess game today.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to let you know. If I won, I'm going to let you know. If not, I'm not. So take care.
Take care. Bye.